AI security. In 2023, an AI hiring tool at a major tech company was quietly screening out qualified candidates based on gender. Nobody caught it for months. The system passed every internal review. It looked fine on paper, but it wasn't fine. This is what happens when AI ships without a risk management framework. Not a checklist, not a compliance exercise, a framework, a way of thinking about what can go wrong before it does. That's what NIST built, and today I'm walking you through it. 4 functions, 9 minutes. Everything a technical team needs to start implementing it. The NIST AI Risk Management Framework, AI RMF for short, was released in January 2023 by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's not a regulation. Nobody's going to fine you for ignoring it. It's voluntary guidance, a structured way to think about AI risk across the entire life cycle of a system. That matters because most AI failures aren't dramatic. They're quiet. A model drifts.
A training dataset carries bias nobody flagged. An edge case surfaces in production that testing never covered. The AI RMF gives you a playbook for catching those problems earlier. The framework is built around 4 core functions: govern, map, measure, and manage. They're not sequential steps, they run in parallel, continuously. Think of them as 4 lenses you apply to every AI system you build, deploy, or procure. One more thing worth knowing: NIST designed this to be flexible. It adapts to your context. Whether you're a startup shipping your first model or an enterprise running hundreds, the principles scale. Let's start with the first function. Govern is the foundation. Everything else sits on top of it. This function is about organizational commitment, policies, roles, accountability. Who owns AI risk in your org? Who's responsible when something goes wrong? If you can't answer those questions clearly, govern is where you start. 3 things make this function work. First, clear policies for AI development and deployment, not buried in a wiki nobody reads, living documents that teams actually reference when making decisions. Second, accountability structures, named individuals or teams responsible for AI risk at every stage, not the AI team handles it. Specific ownership, specific scope. Third, and this one gets overlooked, culture. NIST specifically calls out diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, not as a nice to have, as a risk mitigation strategy. Homogeneous teams build blind spots into systems. Diverse teams catch more failure modes. Govern also extends to your supply chain. If you're using third-party models, APIs, or training data, you need policies covering those too. Your risk doesn't stop at your code base. MAP is about understanding context before you build. Most AI risk conversations start too late, after the model is trained, sometimes after it's deployed. MAP pulls that conversation forward. It asks, what is this system? What environment does it operate in? And what could go wrong? 4 things happen in the MAP function. First, context understanding. You define the AI system's operational environment completely. Who uses it? What decisions does it inform? What happens when it's wrong? Second, categorization. You classify the system based on its risk profile. Not all AI carries the same stakes. A recommendation engine and a medical diagnostic tool need different levels of scrutiny. Third, benchmarking. You compare your system's capabilities and limitations against industry standards and its intended purpose. Where does it perform well? Where does it fall short? Fourth, impact identification. You map the potential effects, positive and negative, on individuals, groups, communities, and society. This isn't hypothetical. It's specific, documented, and revisited. MAP is the function that prevents the "we didn't think about that" postmortems. Measure is where you prove it or find out you can't. This function is about rigorous evaluation, quantitative and qualitative. You identified risks in MAP. Now you test whether your mitigations actually work. 3 components. First, metrics. You select and apply the right methods to evaluate trustworthiness. That includes accuracy, fairness, robustness, privacy, transparency, the full spectrum. The key word is right. Not every metric matters for every system. Picking the wrong ones gives you false confidence. Second, tracking. Risks aren't static. A model that performed fairly at launch can drift over time as data distributions shift. Measure means continuous monitoring, not a one time audit before deployment. Third, feedback. You evaluate whether your measurement processes themselves are effective. Are you measuring what matters? Are your test data sets representative? Are your benchmarks still relevant? This is the meta layer that keeps the whole system honest. One practical note: measure is where most teams underinvest. Building the model is exciting, monitoring it isn't. But the teams that invest in measurement infrastructure catch problems weeks or months before they become incidents. Manage is where action meets risk. You've governed, mapped, and measured. Now you respond. This function is about allocating resources to address the risk you've identified, prioritized by severity and organizational impact. Three pillars. First, prioritization. Not every risk needs the same response. Some need immediate remediation, some need monitoring, some need acceptance with documentation. Manage gives you a framework for making those calls based on evidence, not gut feeling. Second, incident response. When something goes wrong, and eventually it will, you need a plan, not a plan you write after the incident, a plan that already exists, that's been tested, that names who does what and how you communicate it. NIST emphasizes pre incident planning because post incident scrambles create more damage than the original failure. Third, third party management. If you use external AI tools or services, their risks are your risks. Manage means actively overseeing those relationships, reviewing vendor documentation, testing integrations, and maintaining the right to audit. Manage is the function that turns analysis into outcomes. Without it, govern, map, and measure are just documentation. So, where does ISO 42001 fit? ISO/IEC 42001 is the world's first certifiable AI management system standard, published by the International Organization for Standardization. It gives organizations a structured system for managing AI responsibly, and unlike NIST, you can get formally certified against it. Here's how they differ. NIST AI RMF is voluntary guidance. It's flexible, non prescriptive, and designed to adapt to your context. It originated in the US but is used globally. Its strength is depth, particularly in risk identification and measurement. ISO 42001 is a management system standard. It covers broader organizational processes, think documentation, leadership commitment, resource allocation, internal audits. It integrates with other ISO standards you might already use, like ISO 27001 for information security or ISO 9001 for quality management. The short version, NIST, goes deeper on risk. ISO goes wider on governance. But here's the important part: they're not competing, they're complementary. Many organizations use NIST AI RMF for their risk assessment methodology and ISO 42001 for their certifiable management system. The risk depth from NIST feeds into the governance structure of ISO. If you're building AI controls from scratch, NIST is often the easier starting point. If you need a certification to show clients or regulators, ISO 42001 is the path. So here's where you start. Pick one AI system, your highest risk one. Run it through the four functions. Govern. Do you have clear ownership and policies? Map. Have you documented its context, risks, and potential impacts? Measure. Are you testing and monitoring continuously? Manage. Do you have a response plan if something goes wrong? You don't need to implement the entire framework at once. Start with one system, one pass through all four functions. Document what you find, then expand. The NIST AI RMF Playbook, available free at arc.nista.govern, gives you specific suggested actions for every outcome in the framework. It's the best next step after this video. AI risk management isn't about slowing down, it's about building systems you can actually trust. And that starts with a framework.